In this video, we're going to go over safety for using the bandsaw. In this video, we're going to go over safety when using the bandsaw. So this bandsaw is specifically for wood or plastics or composites or stuff like that. If you want to cut metal, there's another metal bandsaw over there, the horizontal bandsaw. You can flip that one up and cut metal. Don't try to cut metal on this because this blade goes way too fast for cutting metal. So first, let's talk safety. You shouldn't have any jewelry on or anything like that. When using the bandsaw, if you've got long sleeves, notice like I'm wearing a hoodie today, roll your sleeves up. You don't want, because your hand is going to get near this, you don't want anything to happen and the blade catch your sleeve and then pull your sleeve in. And if your sleeve is going in, your hand is coming after. So roll up your sleeves if you've got long sleeves. Make sure that your work area is clean. So if there's stuff on the floor, sweep it up or vacuum. There shouldn't be anything around on the floor. Your workspace should be pretty clean. If you're going to use the power cord, make sure the cord goes around behind you, or you could put it around the back of the saw. That would probably be better. And again, always in the shop, wear safety glasses. So before we plug it in and get started, let's talk about the setup. So the blade guard is what you need to set first. Notice I haven't plugged the saw in yet. I'm still doing all this with the saw unplugged. So let's say I was going to cut this piece of material. See, this blade guard right now is too low for me to get that end of the blade. So this guard, you can adjust, turn this knob right here, and then you can lift it up, and you want the guard to be just above your workpiece. So what this guard is doing, you can see there's a bearing here, and that blade is going to run along that bearing. This is going to keep it straight as it goes through your material. So when you've got it to the height you want, you can come back here, tighten that down, check, everything should look good. So you can also, if it hasn't been run in a while, you can take it and look at the teeth, kind of roll the saw around like this, and inspect the teeth as they come off and make sure all the teeth look good. You can look down here too. Just make sure the teeth look good, and also turn it and make sure the blade is tracking down the middle. So you can see it's kind of worn right here. The blade should be running right in the middle. If the blade is moving back and forth, come tell me so we can fix it. There's an adjustment to fix that. Okay, so I've got the blade guard set up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut, as an example, a smaller piece of plastic. So this is what I'm going to cut. This is a piece of coroplast. It's like corrugated plastic. So let me put my blade guard all the way down and tighten it and set this up. And I'm going to cut this piece. That's as low as it goes, so that's as good as it's going to get. So this is set up. Let's go plug it in. So I'm going to take my power cord. We'll come around the back, and the power cord is kind of wrapped around back here. So you have to take this off, and then let's plug it in. And now we should be ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple examples of cuts. I'm going to cut, let's say, this little V out right here, and I'm also going to cut around this edge of the B. I'll cut the whole B out. So these are a couple different cuts you can make on here. Before you turn this on and start going, make sure that everything's free of like nails. There's no nails or metal or anything on here that can pop off at you. So let's start. I'm going to cut this V. And so to do this, I'm going to have to make a cut. I can't go in and then turn around and come back. So what I'm going to have to do is make one cut here and then stop it, and one cut here. Okay? So hands always stay to the side. You don't ever want your hands to be in line with the blade. So you can kind of see where this is on the outside of the blade, that little piece of metal. You don't want your fingers to ever be in that line. You always want to keep your fingers outside, and don't stick your hand through here. Like, you can go through a little bit, but don't reach through, because that's another way to easily get pulled into the machine, which is not going to be a good time. All right, so let's go ahead and go. The switch is over here on the side. I'm going to pull it up, and the saw is going to start. So let's make this first cut. Keep my hands out here. I'm going to come straight down this way. Push the material slowly into the blade, and you can adjust with your fingers as you're going. So I'm going to push the blade all the way in until I get to there, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to turn the saw off, and I'm not going to move the workpiece. I'm just holding it here. All right, so when the blade stops, now I can back this out of the material. And then I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to go here and meet those two, and this piece should fall out. Again, when you start, make sure the saw gets up to speed before you start cutting. And then I'm going to get closer and closer, and I'm going to stop when it gets there. And again, I'm going to turn it off before I start moving stuff. Let the saw come to a stop, and then I can pull this out. And I can remove my waste piece, take this, throw it in the trash, and there's my first cut. So my second cut, I'm going to come around. I'm just going to stop right here. So to do this, I'm going to need to make what's called a relief cut. So if I'm trying to cut out of here, I don't want to try to bend the blade into that. So I'm going to cut some of this material off first to make this curve easier to take with the blade. So again, I'm going to get here. I'm not going to try to take that whole curve. I'm going to turn it a little bit and come off to the side like that. Push that piece out of the way. And now I have a little bit less of a curve to take here. You don't want to try to turn the blade too hard, because what can happen is you'll pop the blade off the track. If you're taking a tight curve, you can just take little, they're called relief cuts, like that. Again, come out like that, and then I might be able to get the rest of this in one if I go slow. No, I don't want to risk it, so I'll come this way, like that. I'm going to stop it because I don't want to back it out because I made a curve. Let it come to a stop. I'm going to back it out. See that curve? I don't want to try to back out while the blade's moving through a curve. And then I'll turn it back on, and I'll finish getting down to that little corner. So pop that little piece out. And there we go. Let it come to a stop. And again, don't back it out while the blade's moving, especially when you cut a curve like that. So this blade, I might have been able, if I had gone really slow, to have made that curve, but it's better to be safe. It's a pain in the butt to take this blade off after it's been popped off and reset it. So it's better to take your time, make a bunch of relief cuts, and end up with the blade in one piece. All right, so when you're done, make sure you clear everything off. You can get a broom, a little hand broom, and vacuum it off. All these little small pieces that you cut off, don't try to get them while the blade's moving. Don't try to knock them off with your workpiece. Take them and throw them away after you're done. Stop the saw. Make sure before you put your hands near that, you've turned the saw off. So when you're done, vacuum, clean up everything. Make sure the area people are going to stand is clean. You can unplug it and wrap it back around here so the cord isn't just flopping out and people step on the plug. And also, another thing, if you're cutting something and something happens to the blade, so the blade comes off the tracks or the blade breaks or something like that, immediately, don't mess with your work, immediately turn the saw off and step back away from the saw, because that blade is still spinning around. You want to let it come to a stop before you go back over there. Even if your workpiece is stuck in there, don't wait and try to pull your work out. Immediately turn the saw off and step back from it. All right, so that's safety rules for the bandsaw. Again, if you have any questions about anything or you're unsure about anything, always come ask me before you start using a tool.